Hi, everyone. It's Mitch from PickDogs.com here with Steve Monahan, as always, for our college football preview show. It's championship week. That means next week, Army-Navy game and then a little bit of bowl preview action going on. Maybe our first look at the bowl games is what we'll do, kind of like a first look at the bowl games. Well, I mean, that's exactly what it'll be. And then the next week we'll preview the games coming up that week, and then we'll do the next one. You guys all ask questions about games that aren't that week, and I'll have to say we're only doing games this week. Pretty much.
Team A versus B and the point spread, and then
you know the drill.
I know, you know, and I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I almost had to delay the show a little bit today. American Pie 2 is on. Haven't seen it in a couple weeks, so. Classic.
Yeah.
Let's go to the lake house for the summer.
Who doesn't like a good lake house during the summer? Come on.
Yep. Anyways, Puck Dogs on fire. So, a lot going on in sports. Zach Wheeler signs big contract. Of course, he was drafted 9 spots ahead of Mike Trout in the baseball draft.
Apropos.
Oof.
Not going to make quite as much as Mike Trout, however.
It's amazing the amount that free agent pitchers and baseball players in general get, depending on the year and who's out there and available. Because, I mean, is Zach Wheeler worth $118 million? I mean,
no, he's not.
He hasn't shown it yet. He's a guy with a world of potential.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Wheeler, again, the Mets got him, and he came extremely highly touted, like he was Steve Carlton, Sandy Koufax, Roger Clemens combined. Throws 96 on average. Had a 3.96 earned run average, but you know what? I've seen enough of him with the Mets. He's very injury prone. And you're going to sign a contract like that. What does that tell you about starting pitching and what a premium it is? These clubs put on it. Me, if I'm the owner, I'm not paying Zach Wheeler that kind of amount of money. I don't care.
I'm not either.
But, congratulations, Zach Wheeler. I mean,
Absolutely.
What can I say? That's why they play. They're not doing it for free.
The other big news of the night, we talked about it this morning with the Puck Dogs, was James Harden dunking the basketball and them saying, it doesn't count. It's like, it did. I don't even understand why it didn't happen, but I don't know. I always thought if the ball goes through the hoop, it's a basket. If it doesn't go through the hoop, it's kind of like if you put a guy hits a shot in hockey, it bounces off the back of the net and the puck comes out. It's still a goal. If the NFL, the guy jumps over the top of the pile with the ball, gets pushed back, but he touches the goal line, right? Touchdown.
Breaks the plane.
Yeah, breaks the plane.
But I tell you what, I don't put much stock in what James Harden has to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but still, I mean, this was a dunk.
I get it. I get it.
This is a game where it ends up, they don't count the dunk. It hits the bottom of the net, gets swirled around in there, it gets thrown out the top of the hoop. After it's already passed through, the game goes to overtime because they don't count the basket and they lose. What if it ends up costing them home court advantage in the end? I mean, there's a million things that could happen here.
That'd be a bad call, man.
And of course, my favorite story of the week so far is that the Cubs cut bait with Addison Russell. Finally, these guys saying, all right, well, we have some morals, It's like, at a certain point, even we get sick of this crap. So maybe the Yankees will pick them up, because they have no problem with Aroldis Chapman and those type of people. So,
we like to take a flyer on character guys, absolutely. Yeah.
Character guys. And, of course, Ron Rivera. Not surprising, we talked about it on the show. I don't think he's going to be out of work long.
No. I mean, is it surprising he got fired? No, but is it surprising that he's the first to get fired? It's kind of what I'm thinking of. Ron Rivera, to your point, he won't be lacking employment for long.
So if you could name the next three coaches or places where coaching vacancies emerge in the NFL, I'm thinking San Diego is probably a spot where we're going to see a coaching vacancy in the near future. A team that went 12-4 last year and now looks to be in 4-12. So that's called flipping your record, not in the good way. And
I think the New York Giants are definitely going to fire Pat Shermer.
Really, they have.
And I got some inside info. So the ownership of the Giants, John Mara runs football. Steve Tisch, for those that don't know, the Mara family sold 50% stake. God, what in late '90s maybe something like that. They've all gotten along, but Steve Tisch is supposed to run the business side. My inside information tells me the Tisch family is up the Mara family, and that's not a good sign. And the fact that the Giants can't get at it themselves, I think Pat Shermer is going to get fired.
So those of you that don't follow this stuff, the Tisch family is the big TV people. The Mara family is only
got a lot of dough
forever. I believe it's CBS, right? The Tisch family.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, entertainment, TV, what have you. But I'll throw the Giants out there. And actually, a lot of the audience knows I'm a Cowboy fan. I just don't see Jason Garrett coming back next year. I think it's finally time after 10 years. So those would probably be my first two teams, I would say, coaching vacancy.
I would say the Browns' Kinchins is probably on the hot seat. Because
is it because the T-shirt his daughter gave him? Is it because of the T-shirt?
I could have something.
Steelers started a T-shirt.
Yeah, that's not good, and
it's not a good look for an NFL head coach to be wearing a T-shirt about.
I would say it's a horrible look, and I think and of course with Gase, the Jets, they're always itchy.
That's there too. I think because the Jets had a 3-game win streak, I think that saves Gase. But
they see the Bengal game.
Yeah, I'm not advocating this by any stretch, but
all right, let's get to some college football. We got 10 games this week, just the championship games. It's the lightest schedule, and then next week is Army Navy, and like I said, we'll do a bowl preview show next week on Wednesday, and then the following week we'll just preview the games that are coming up that week, and then we'll do the next week after that. But we got the opener. It's a beauty in Pac-12, Levi Stadium. So here in Hawaii, it's those of you that have never been, it's small town, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's not like a booming city like where a lot of you are from. We don't have at least in Maui, we don't have it. We don't have the strip mall with the Gap in it and Best Buy, and we don't have any of that stuff. And the Foodland, I believe it was, or New Times Market, had a contest where you could go to a big football game at Levi Stadium on December 7th or December 6th. Big football game. They didn't even say Pac-12 championship. They didn't call it. They called it a big football game. This was the contest. It was a random drawing. I didn't win. I'm not going.
Wow, you're not going.
No, I'm not going. But I could have won a trip to a big football game. So we have a big football game here, Levi Stadium. We got the Oregon Ducks ranked at 13. They have that loss that just absolutely crippled them to Arizona State. This game would have possibly been for a playoff shot or something like that. Or, who knows what's going to happen in some of these other games. We'll get to scenarios as we go around. But there's a pretty big consensus out there that thinking that even if Utah wins and Georgia loses, that Utah's not going. And I don't know. I think this team has played extremely well. And they have the one loss. It's a road loss. It was at USC. I always think road losses are a little more forgivable. Bye, Sam. Have fun at the beach.
Hey, buddy.
There he goes. And I always think road losses are a little more forgivable than home losses. I think that, depending on who you lose to, is Utah's loss to USC, is it worse than Oklahoma's loss to
Iowa State?
Kansas State they lost to.
Kansas.
And there's a lot of back and forth here, and then there's also the argument that Oklahoma's been in the playoff the last few years and they haven't done anything with it. And maybe we're just sick of them. And it's kind of like that's the way they treated Ohio State. It's like, we let you in, you got shut out by Clemson, so it's like we're going to look for every excuse to keep you out. And, they look for every excuse to keep the Pac-12 out. But I think what's coming out of this committee, and I mean, the best case scenario is possibly Georgia wins, or Georgia loses, and now you have, all these 1-loss and 2-loss teams and just a whole mess going on and who gets that last spot. And the more controversy there is, it's better for the game, because eventually someone's going to do something. First it was Wyoming not making it to a bowl game, and then went to Congress, to say that we didn't get to go to a bowl game. We had a winning record. We did all the qualifications. It went to Congress, and that's why they have, now it's like it's all laid out how it has to be. It's like eventually they say, we're only going to let you push us so far. And I think this committee that has no accountability to anybody, and when you talk about the eye test, when you start talking about the eye test, there's no eye test. I got news for you. There is none, There's no eye test. The only eye test that we have is that Utah has beaten a lot of good teams. Oklahoma has beaten some okay teams. Oklahoma's defense is a sieve, and Utah's defense is pretty good. That's all we have. We don't have a common, anything could happen in any day. I mean, Stephen F. Austin beat Duke, right? Stephen F. Austin beat Duke. Evansville beat Kentucky. So Evansville beat Kentucky. Stephen F. Austin beat Duke. Duke beat Michigan State. Does Stephen F. Austin beat Michigan State? I mean, this is how stupid this is.
Thanks. I got it.
Evansville beats Kentucky. Kentucky beats Kansas. Does Evansville beat Kansas? Is that an automatic? I mean, this is how people think. It just doesn't even make any sense.
Examples: 99 out of 100 times, Evansville loses to Kentucky, and
more than that. More than that.
I know.
More than that, they lose to Kentucky. And, here we are. We have 5 major conferences that everyone agrees that these are the major conferences. They don't let everybody in that should be in those major conferences. We'll talk about some of these other teams as we go through. But, there's a flawed system here. It happens behind closed doors. We're not told exactly how it's done. And there always seems to be a team that's unhappy. At the end of the day, at least 1 or 2 teams that's unhappy. But here we are, the Utah Utes, 48% of the public on the Utes. The line's gone from 5 to 6.5. So the money's on the Utes. I'm on the Utes. I like him here. I like Herbert a lot. I think Utah definitely wins this game. And I think they do what they've done to everybody else all season long, is that once they get the lead, they put the screws to you. They make you make some really stupid mistakes on offense, and then they just have some 28-year-old running back that just runs all over you. And, I mean, that's what they do. That's what this team has done for a long time, and this is how Kyle Whittingham does it. And I don't see this game being any different. And, I like Oregon. I like them a lot. I think they can make this game competitive, at least for a little while, but I don't see them hanging. You also see a total here that's dropped from 51 to 46. I like the over, too.
I do, too. I like your points. I love Utah here. Kyle Whittingham, again, for our audience, he literally took over for Urban Meyer a generation ago, it seems like, right?
Oh, yeah, he's been there forever.
Right. So he's done a great job. Utah, I think the defense is everything you said it is. So I see Oregon, nothing to play for really, other than, there'll be a 3-loss team and probably play on December 30th or the 28th. Justin Herbert looks like he's a good quarterback, most likely the number 1 overall pick. That being the side, Utah's got a chance if they show up and take care of business. They're in conversation to get that 4th spot, however it plays out. But they got to win, and they got to win convincingly. Winning by a touchdown, no problem. I'll take Utah.
I'm going to take Utah as well. I think they win, and I think they cover. Some interesting things. I talked about this on the morning show too. There's a show called Pro Football Talk. So I don't watch a lot of these football talk shows, right? I don't watch the one where they fly in the guest picker who's, a country singer. I don't watch those things. I don't care. It's like maybe there's some comedy to it, maybe whatever, but there's nothing really to it.
All right, you get a good line every now and then, Chesney. All right, but that's it.
That's it. And, it's like, Kenny Chesney, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that I can't even understand this guy, how his sports loyalties even work. He's got, he's a Tennessee college football fan, but he's a New England Patriots NFL fan. It's like, are you just a front runner? Is that what's going on here in the NFL? It's like, I grew up in Miami, and I know Steve grew up in the New Jersey, greater New York area. I mean, did you have any friends that were just random Patriot fans, like out of the blue? I mean, you just didn't, And it's like Chesney is not like it's not like Chesney is like, even from this generation. Chesney is older, right? He's a little older than that. I don't know. Most of the people I know from that Tennessee area, they're like Atlanta Falcons fans and Saints fans, right? It's like Cowboys fans, but New England Patriots? Oh, he's good friends with Bill Belichick. Yeah. So
ever since I met Bill Belichick, I have a fondness for the New England Patriots.
So it just doesn't even make sense to me. But anyways, got,
we could do a show on country singers.
But anyways, on this Pro Football Talk this morning, Peter King brought up some really interesting points.
We like Peter,
and I think we should join in the campaign and maybe ask him if he wants to be on the show with us, because I really agree with him on a couple of these points, and I think he would do it. I think he would come on. He lives by you. I know that his daughter played softball with my cousin's daughter in Montclair, and basically what he was saying is that the NFL pass interference rule's got to go. It's like the idea of a spot foul on a coincidental bump is ridiculous, and that a team that gets the ball in the 2-yard line and gets 30, 40-yard gains on a coincidental bump is ridiculous. The assumption that this receiver is going to catch this ball automatically is ridiculous, and that that it was this guy pulling him, and there's the push, and there's this judgment call. You want to have it, you want to have that judgment call, that's fantastic. You make it a 15-yard penalty. And if there is a tackle, which happens 6 to 8 times a year in the entire NFL on all those plays, where the receiver is just absolutely hog-tied, tackled, pulled down from behind and thrown to the ground, you see it maybe 8 times a year, right? Then that's a spot foul, But and you differentiate, kind of like roughing the kicker. There's a 5-yard variety and there's a 15-yard variety, and it's a judgment call at that point. But some of this ticky-tack stuff, where it is, you could say, there's an argument for pass interference on almost every single play, like holding, That I just thought that was a really interesting thing, where he just said that and when the guy fumbles out of the end zone, it being a touchback and the ball going to the other team without them gaining possession ever is just ridiculous, Those two rules just don't make any sense to me. It's, of course, my thing that I never really liked. And what I'd like to discuss with him too is the half the distance penalties from inside your own 5. Like, say you're holding inside your own 5-yard line, half the distance. It's like the guy. It's like, maybe I'll get away with the hold. He's not going to make this play if I don't hold, so I'll just hold. And if I get away with it, we get the play. If I don't get away with it, it costs me 2 yards. How about if they move the sticks back, the differential? So if they move the ball back 2.5. But then they move the sticks back an additional 7.5. So you're still 1st and 20. And when you reach inside the 2-yard line, then you just continue to move the sticks further out. Because how many times do you see where there is that penalty in there, and then they convert and move down? And it's like, if it would have been the full 5, 10, or whatever, they would not have converted. And I know the NFL will never do that, but I'm just saying, I think it would make the game a little more interesting for those of us that love defense.
Yeah. I got no issue with any of that.
I think it just makes it a real penalty as opposed to it not being. Yeah,
Sure.
I think that's what I said. I also, I've made it crystal clear on these shows that I'm a big fan of the horse collar tackle, and I do believe they should bring that back.
You are. We talked about this already.
I
Good.
mean, when I played football, Pee Wee football, from the time I was 5 years old, they taught us to lead with our head. You lead with your head. Face on the ball tackling is like the first thing they teach you. Even if you were offense, they taught you, when the guy intercepts, picks up the helmet, you hit him with your helmet right on his hand. Pop the ball out. Now it's like you get the chair. In college, they throw you
Oh,
out of the game.
you get the chair now. There ain't no doubt about it.
You know, I think that's an equipment issue that they have. And let's go to Saturday games. We got App State taking on Louisiana Lafayette. These teams played already this season. App State ran them out of the gym. That Chargers game is exactly why it came up. That Denver Chargers game. All of a sudden, 37-yard pass interference call on the last play of the game, and it goes from a 75-yard field goal to a 53-yard field goal in Denver. Big difference, 75-yard field goal, they're not even attempting it. 53 is a chip shot at Mile High, or whatever they call it these days, right? It's kind of like the Dolphins thing. They just change. Let's just change the name every few years.
Blockbuster Stadium.
Pick Dog Stadium.
Let's do that.
App State against Louisiana Lafayette. So Louisiana Lafayette, when these guys met the first time, this is the Sun Belt Championship. When they met the first time, Louisiana Lafayette, it was at ULL. They treated it like it was their Super Bowl. It was like the big deal. App State went in there. By the end of the first quarter, it was over. It was done. Anything different about this game that would lead us to believe that App State doesn't do it to them again?
Yeah, me too. We've been riding App State all year, and there ain't no way I'm changing course now. I love App State here. They take care.
I don't even understand this.
That's the better team.
So, move on then to the MAC. The MAC used to be a Friday nighter, now it's a Saturday game. Miami of Ohio and Central Michigan. I'm not 100% sure, but this could be Miami of Ohio's first MAC championship game since Ben Roethlisberger played there. I'm going to guess. And one thing that, they don't talk about Ben Roethlisberger's Miami of Ohio teams too much, but that team had a serious offensive line that could have easily gone as a unit and played in Columbus at Ohio State. I mean, they were a killer. And he was great. But that team was great. And actually, my wife's cousin played on that team. He wasn't on the line, but he was on that team with Ben Roethlisberger. And, they were a good team. But the thing here is Central Mich, the Chippewas, kind of flew under the radar all season, but here they are in the MAC championship. Miami of Ohio is a team that traditionally starts the season slow and finishes fast. And they did it again this season.
They did. But the Chippewas, I think, did the same. I think the Chippewas are 8-4 coming in. Miami, I think, is 7-5. Central Michigan took care of business last week. I think they're playing good football. I'll take the Chippewas here.
Yeah, I think in this one for me, I'm going to have to go the other way. I'm going to go with Miami of Ohio. I just like the way that they play at the end of the season. I know they lost to Ball State in the last game of the year, but they kind of already knew where they stood here.
Yeah, but they gave a lot of points to Ball State. They didn't just lose by it.
I know. They were laying 10.5. They lost by 14. So, but I think when you're already predetermined as to what's going to happen, they played in a ton of close games between 3 and 7 points, and I just think getting points, Miami of Ohio, it just seems to be a pretty good place to be. Getting a full touchdown in this game. I'm going to take Miami of Ohio in this.
Okay.
Move on. Big 12 championship game. This game, we'll talk about a little bit of lack of respect here. They give it the noontime start here. This used to be a nighttime game. And now it's a noontime start. think, for me, it's controversial as to if the Big 12 should even have a championship game. They don't have the required 12 teams in their conference that everybody else has to have. They held tryouts to get in, not tryouts, but interviews to get into their conference, and none of the people that would make the decision to get them into the conference would even show up at this interview process. So I'm not really sure how much I buy into letting this happen. But I think when we look at some of these other championship game participants, like Cincinnati, like Memphis, like, teams that aren't in, like Houston, or a team like Boise, I think they make the Big 12 a lot more legitimate of a conference. And I think even if you add 4 teams, but once again, Texas doesn't want to split the money. So when Baylor and TCU didn't even get a whiff of it a few years back, and they were on the outside looking in at the playoff, all they did was able to get a waiver from the NCAA to allow a 10-team championship. They didn't really do anything to spice up their conference or to bring it in. So I don't know. I just think that this is pretty sad. I think that if the winner of this game will have the same record, if Utah wins, the winner of this game will have the same record as Utah. If Utah doesn't win, it's going to be the winner of this game that goes in. If it's Baylor, they might not even let them in. They might put 2-loss Georgia team ahead of them. Is how bad it is.
Well, Matt, you're right.
It's they don't like Baylor. You don't like Baylor, and they don't like Baylor. But these teams just played, and Baylor, they had them dead to rights. They let them get away. It was a tale of two halves. The first half was all Baylor. The second half was all Oklahoma. Where we left off, was it really so much? I mean, right at the very end of the game, was it really all Oklahoma at the final minutes? Maybe not, But 9 points is a ton in this game. I think either Baylor wins outright or Oklahoma's going to cover by a bunch. And I'm going to guess that the referees might have an interest in Oklahoma winning this game, but I don't care. I think Baylor's just been nasty all season, and I think that they might have seen something on that film in the second half that they know they're going to be able to stop, or either that or Oklahoma saw something in the second half that they know they can't stop. Yeah. I'll try my luck. I'll take Baylor here plus the 9.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of points. That's a gift. To your point about Oklahoma and defense, they lost to Kansas State where they give up 48 points. Their defense has been the Red Sea all year against good teams. So they have to, score 40 plus, 30 plus.
Yeah, not just this year.
They're capable of doing that, but the fact that, to your point too, Baylor, I think, was the better team against Oklahoma, the tale of two halves. With 9 points, I think Baylor here has got plenty to play for. And if Baylor does win, I do see a scenario where they're not so sexy, and that committee's going to keep them out over, like you said, maybe a 2-loss Georgia team, something like that. But I'll take Baylor here in the points too, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just think, Baylor's played in so many close games this season. It wasn't like an aberration or anything that it was a close game. That's what Baylor's been in all year. So nothing strange about that at all.
Nope.
But anyways, we'll keep moving right along here. Let's see what we got.
Feeling hot.
We got Florida Atlantic taking on UAB. This is Conference USA.
Yep.
This is a conference that's changed a lot over the years. Florida Atlantic, of course, they schedule way up at the beginning of the season. They did it again this year. And, they take their lumps early, and then Lane Kiffin kind of changes the tune. UAB, we'll hear this a million times. The team that quit football a couple of years ago and then started football again. When we saw Florida Atlantic getting slaughtered by Ohio State and UCF in back-to-back weeks, the other loss was Marshall in Week 8. They were 5.5-point favorites. They lost by 5 in that game. Meanwhile, the other side of this thing, UAB, I don't know. To me, this is a team that's kind of underperformed. I know they beat Louisiana Tech. They won down the stretch. They lost to Southern Miss. They got crushed 37-2. They lost to Tennessee. They looked terrible in that game. They beat Old Dominion. They beat, UTSA. And, of course, they lost to Western Kentucky. So I'm not seeing anything here from UAB that looks too inspiring to me, and I don't know. I think for me, this one is Florida Atlantic. I would like it better at a touchdown.
Yeah.
Someone's calling me. Who could this possibly be? What do you guys think? My insurance? We've been. Someone's been trying to reach me. Hello?
Oh, cool.
Hello? They hung up. I thought for sure they were going to be trying to reach me.
You think it was a UAB, maybe alum trying to sway you towards the UAB side? No?
Could be something like that. But anyways, those of you watching live, be sure to hit the thumbs up. Those of you watching the replay, be sure to hit the thumbs up.
I got to take the Lane Kiffeners here myself. I think UAB, too inconsistent for my liking. And I think FAU's the better team here.
Yeah, I think they are as well.
Not a sexy game in the slightest, though.
Just going to show you guys how to do the like on the phone here. So here's our show. Whoop. And then you just take your phone, you hit the little X right there, you shrink the comments, and then right here it says like, thumbs up right there.
Yeah.
You hit this thumbs up, and there it is. You hit that, and then right here you go right back. It says live chat. It's the middle option, and there it is. The chat's right back. You can see exactly the same chat, except it's backwards. All right. Oh, I see. Yeah. Sometimes what happens on my broadcast here is my computer. You can hear the fan, and for that I just need to change. I just need to do a setting. You guys just need to tell me if that's a problem, because I can always change where my microphone. So okay. Go to the next game. And it is after the show. I'll probably go and do the videos of these games. I haven't done any of them yet. I wanted to wait till we did the show. Cincinnati versus Memphis. These guys just played this week.
They did.
The Cincinnati covered the spread in that game. They were getting a bundle, and now it's south of the number of where they covered. I don't know. Memphis, they have not looked overly dominant for an 11-1 team. They just seem like they can be had. I'm gonna have to go back to Cincinnati again. I took them last week. They covered. I'm gonna take them again. 9.5 points. They play. What do they play the following week? And then it's 8.5. I mean, they just drop it a point every week until Memphis covers. I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna take Cincinnati.
Yeah, and I think you and I are agreeing an awful lot here today, but I feel the same. I think Cincinnati, they covered by 0.5 point against Memphis last week. To your point, Memphis is a one-loss team, but overly impressive by where, should they even be in the discussion of a top 10? I don't think so.
Oh, not even close.
Exactly. I don't think they're that good. So I love Cincinnati getting points here, and especially that they played last week. I'll take Cincinnati all day here.
I think Luke Fickell has a lot of connections in the coaching world, and my guess is that they were on the phone with him a lot this week, looking at that last week game between Memphis and Cincinnati. I think that Cincinnati probably played it a little closer to the vest than Memphis did. That Memphis had a lot more to play for last week than Cincinnati did. Cincinnati was in either way. Memphis needed to win, and I think that Cincinnati might have left a few things in their bag of tricks. And my guess is that Luke Fickell, he's got connections to Jim Tressel. He's got connections to Urban Meyer. Those guys, it's kind of like that fraternity. And I'm looking forward to seeing this Nick Saban, Bill Belichick show that's coming up. That, to me, is something that's probably going to be a good watch.
Oh, yeah. Those guys are good friends, man. I've seen some stuff about them hanging out in the offseason.
Better friends than Chesney and Belichick?
I think so. I would say so.
Because they hang out all the time, and Bob Kraft, too, is friends
with
Chesney.
When Bob is not, of course, down in Florida hitting the orchids.
Of Asia. Yeah, tomorrow we'll talk NFL, but this is kind of the Orchids of Asia rematch with the Chiefs visiting the Patriots this time. Last time it was the Patriots at the Chiefs, and Bob decided, I know I got to get to Kansas City. I just got to make a quick stop.
How much time do we got? You know what? Let's.
You got $57 I can borrow.
You know what? I left my cash in my desk at Gillette Stadium.
Got LSU taking on Georgia. This is the game that's kind of going to determine where all the rest of the chips fall. We have the two one-loss teams in the Big 12 championship. We have Utah, which we aren't 100% sure control their own destiny, but they do control their own destiny if LSU gets a win in this game. Not a cover, just a win.
Yep.
LSU's been pretty dominant all season. Georgia has the one loss to South Carolina, but outside of that, in their SEC games, they have been pretty dominant too. They beat a really good Florida team. They beat Auburn. They've beaten everybody that's been put ahead of them. Back to the the Dabo Swinney comments, about the Georgia loss to South Carolina. He says, Dabo's argument, we beat this team by...
I'll call you right back.
I'll call you right back. We beat you by 37. We beat them by 37. These guys lose to them at home. They're making every argument in the world to get these guys in and every argument in the world to keep us out. I don't know. It's we're gonna see a lot about Kirby Smart and Ed Orgeron here and all that stuff. And I think it's in the SEC's best interest for Georgia to win this game. So it'll be interesting to see how these calls go. But I think that as good as the Georgia defense has been, it's the LSU running game that really has been, for me, the whole thing that keeps them together. And I know Joe Burrow's getting all the credit in the world, but that LSU running game has been absolutely a handful. We saw it against Alabama.
It certainly helps with the play action pass with Joe Burrow, no question.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point. I think the running game has been underrated because of the hype that Burrow's gotten. And listen, I've been leading the parade on Burrow. I think he's had a great year. Does this translate to the NFL with Joe Burrow? I don't know. It's 1 year. It's a small sample size. But he's going to win the Heisman Trophy, and I think LSU is absolutely the better team here. I know it's good business for the SEC for Georgia to win. I just think LSU's too much for Georgia. I like LSU winning and covering, actually.
Yeah, I like LSU too. I think they pull away late, kind of like we've seen them do the rest of the season, and then that would be the best thing for college football, the worst thing for the SEC. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any controversial calls that go their way. Yeah. Go to the Mountain West Conference and Hawaii taking on Boise. I tell you, Nick Rolovich's team here has had a team that's really exceeded expectations. If they lose, do they go to the Hawaii Bowl, again and play BYU?
Bowl again, right?
Or
they know where to park. They know where the good restaurants are around that stadium, no doubt.
Yeah. There's also a great flea market at Aloha Stadium. And, they don't use it much, except for a flea market, and then occasionally, a concert if someone feels like traveling all the way the hell out here. And I'll tell you, there's only one guy that does. and he's from here. So Bruno Mars, when he's the only one that plays out here. Occasionally, like here where I live, like Steven Tyler lives down the street, so like he'll do concerts here. He doesn't have the rest of the band with him, but he still does all the tunes.
Right.
Which is great. He's great, and he'll have friends with them. That'll come out and play.
Chesney got any friends on your block that you should be aware of?
Chesney doesn't have friends on my block, but he has friends on the other side of the island. He's friends with Willie, actually, and Willie, I think, has produced some of his albums and has written some of his music. So he comes to visit Willie, and then he pretends that he's a surfer or something, and like they take like 100 pictures of him with the surfboard, and now he's this surfer or something, and
This Chesney sounds like a fraud to me in some way.
He's not a fraud. I just think he takes it
sports fraud.
He's a sports fraud, but he's also
a guy. Obviously,
he's kind of like he can't just like be like the rest of us who we just like to surf or whatever. It's like, I understand you're a celebrity, but most celebrities, like when they go to the beach and they go surfing or whatever, they don't want anybody around them. Like I see Rob Lowe out here, and his kids. It's like, you don't know him from anybody else. Hey, good to see you. It's here every year. It's like, hey Rob, how you doing? Whatever. It's like you stay out of each other's way. He wants to talk to you, but it's not. It's not a crowd of photographers. It's crazy. I mean, I surf. Where we surf, it's like
who surfs with the cowboy hat on, for Christ's sake?
It's exactly. And sometimes you see the world. The world champion surfs right here. He's from here and he surfs right here. Big wave world champion. I got the regular surfing. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. It's just another guy in the parking lot. That's how surfers are. But it's like, I don't know, with Chesney, it's always got to be this dog and pony show and this production that he drank a shot of rum or something, right? Like a commercial, right? It's always like a commercial for something. I don't know. Maybe I'm taking it too far, but I'm not going to say that he's disingenuous or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'll just say
we don't know. I
just say I don't understand where he stands. It's kind of like Hamilton,
Not a good look, Chesney.
It's kind of like Aaron Burr, right? It's like what do you stand for? What's your stance? You got to take a stance. I know other people like this too. And they happen to be Chesney fans. But anyways, Hawaii taking on Boise on the blue turf. This one is actually a home game for Boise. I have to say that I played golf this morning and it was a little chilly outside, and our chili, see what our dependable weather app calls chili. So it was, they don't show you the past, they only show you what it is now. But let's just say on Friday it's going to could hit 66 degrees here. I mean, that's possible.
Wow.
But I mean, that's like in the middle of the night.
What do you think? What do you think? In long johns and hot thermos bottles. And
I wore a light jacket. But I can only imagine on the blue turf of Boise, it's going to be a little more than a light jacket for the Hawaii guys, and it's a long road trip. There's all those things. I think in general in these games, and I say it all the time about Boise, is that they used to be a novelty act, like back in the day, but they're not a novelty act anymore. Like Gonzaga, it's not like a novelty act anymore. These are the guys, from that conference. These are the guys. I mean, I've told this story before. When I recognized that Boise quarterback that lost me that bet. I shooting dice at Casino Royale. I put $20 on the hard 10. I hit it, and then I parlayed it up, and the hard 10 came again, and they paid me out. And the guy next to me turned to me and said, "Wow, man, that was an awesome bet." And I said, "You're the fucking guy from Boise that played quarterback. That cost me all that money." He's like, no one.
Gotta go.
He's like, no one outside of Boise recognizes me. He's like, how in the hell did this happen? And he laughed, He laughed. I think it was the guy that got injured, like on the first play of the game that time. It was out. It was like, oh my
It's got to be pre-Kellen Moore then.
Yeah, he had. Oh, it was, he had. No, it was post Kellen Moore.
Post-Kellen.
Yeah, he had the big cowboy hat on. It was rodeo week. It was, but it was like, he was like, nice bet, and I was like, you're that Boise quarterback, aren't you?
You son of a bitch!
He's like, it's like, no one recognizes me outside of Boise.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you ran into the wrong guy. You're at the wrong craps table.
That's right.
Anyways,
I love Boise State. I'm not even flinching here because
I'm taking
on the
Hawaii.
turf.
I'm taking
I'm
Hawaii.
going Boise.
I think that this is one of those situations where Boise wins by 12. It's 13.5. I could see them winning by 12. It's like one of those games where it's like Boise is the name. Hawaii's never in the championship. They haven't been in the championship since Timmy Chang was under center. I mean,
Yeah.
June Jones. You know, they're not getting any credit here at all. You know, I got to take Hawaii.
I'm going Boise.
I got to go with my local team. I don't always go with my local team, but in this case, I am. We got Virginia taking on Clemson in the ACC championship. We've seen Clemson struggle in the past in some of these ACC championship games, and it's ridiculous that these guys aren't in the discussion for the number one team in the country. That it's this Ohio State LSU argument, but
Clemson's loving every minute of this. They don't even want to be in discussion.
Clemson, that's one.
They're
two.
fine. They're
one.
fine. 3, 4 seeded. Who cares?
They've won two of the last three.
They'll be in the championship game.
They've won 2 of the last 3 national championships.
Exactly.
They've never been favored in a playoff game, and they were not going to be favored this year either.
And they are not complaining one iota. One iota. That being said, I love Clemson here. We talked about Virginia. I took Virginia against Virginia Tech, and in that 15-game losing streak to them. Nice season, 8-3 for Virginia. Look out for them going forward. Bronco Mendenhall, I think you and I are both big fans of him. Virginia, I think, will be a player on the college scene in the next 5 years. But come on, Clemson does not get the respect that's due them. They are, if not the best team in the country, they are right there in discussion. I don't see Virginia giving them a battle here like Clemson blowing out Virginia here in this game.
I don't see how Clemson isn't the best team in the country, whether they blow out Virginia or not. They win games. They have the best quarterback.
Yep.
I think we're talking Herbert as the number 1 overall. If Trevor Lawrence comes out, I believe he goes first.
Yep.
He's the winner.
He's got 1 more year to go. He can't, right?
I'm not sure.
No, I don't think he can come out this year. He's got to wait 1 more year.
Well, he's never lost a game in college. I don't think he's lost a game in high school either. I don't think he's lost a game in about 20 years.
Those are good qualities. Those are good qualities I like in my quarterback.
It's a good thing to have. He gets a lot of time back there, but he seems to do a lot with it, and he also can run a lot better than people talk about. But he can run with any of these guys. Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, whatever. He can do all those same things. So
I love Clemson in this game.
I love them too. I think the wide receivers are too much, and Clemson in the last 10 games, 31 points or more margin of victory. Dabo Swinney, as much as I haven't agreed with a lot of things that he's done over the years, especially his religious stances, and not saying I don't agree with his religious views or don't agree with his religious views, his religious stances, the way he injects them into his program, I think cross some lines. That's about as far as I go on religion. But
I'm all about Dabo, the football coach. That's it.
He's done a nice job recruiting, and he's done a nice job with the talent that he's got. It's rare. And
as soon as Nick Saban retires, you can pencil him as the next Alabama head coach.
I think that's 100% sold.
I think that's it. I think that's 100%.
I think he's going to the Carolina Panthers next week. Anyways,
no, he ain't leaving Clemson for the Carolina Panthers.
Oh no.
No, I'd be stunned if that is the case.
How much is Dabo making here at Clemson?
I know. Well, he's doing pretty well.
I'm sure he's doing pretty well.
I think he's making $9 million.
when I used to work at a company called Deloitte, one of my clients was one of the owners of the Carolina Panthers, and I can tell you he's got plenty of money to pay this guy.
No, I'm not disputing that they'll offer him an unbelievable contract.
Actually, you know what? I don't think he's leaving either. I'm looking at his salary.
He's got a better gig.
There's no reason for him to leave. I can't even see him taking the Alabama job for this kind of money. I mean, $9.3 million a year he makes.
That's exactly. He's taking the Alabama job because he played at Alabama. He was a walk-on wide receiver under Gene Stallings. He's got Alabama roots. He graduated from Alabama. I just think it's the most logical thing for him. What else is he going to do at Clemson? He's already won national championships. Very well may win another one. When Saban decides to pack it in, I just see that as kind of one of the easier predictions out there.
I'm not really sure that happens. I'm not 100% convinced. I'm more thinking that he goes to the NFL.
Okay. No, I think he's a college guy all the way.
I think following a guy like Saban at Alabama is just a death walk.
Come on, it's the same thing as who's going to follow the Bear. Come on, Ray Perkins or whatever, and come on.
Yeah, it was pretty much disastrous.
It was bad. Don't get me wrong.
It was not. It was a death walk.
I'm not putting Dabo and Ray Perkins' coaching acumen in the same sentence, but
I mean, it's rare that you replace Tom Landry with Jimmy Johnson and win the Super Bowl. It's rare,
correct.
rare.
I imagine replacing Tom Landry with Chan Gailey. Come on, I mean it's right.
Yeah.
Following Don Shula's footsteps, Vince Lombardi. I mean, come on,
Anyways, Wisconsin taking on Ohio State. Ohio State put the wood to them earlier this season.
And they're going to put the wood.
The only thing I know really about Wisconsin is that Paul Chryst still can't coach. It's terrible. Horrible. It's just so bad. It's like, I don't know why I'm so critical of the coaches. I'm like always more critical of the coaches than the players. But I just am. Because maybe they have more say in what goes on out there.
It's what I do.
I mean, unless you have a player that just goes beyond, poor coaching, and like there's a few players that transcend the poor coaching. Like you got Jared Goff and Trubisky. You got guys like that. I mean, the last time we saw the Bears against, was it the Lions or was it the night game before that, where Trubisky's got 4 yards to go for the first down. He's got the first down and then he runs the other way and runs out of bounds 2 yards short of the first down.
He's running the wrong way.
Yeah, he's running the wrong way. Meanwhile, these teams played earlier this season, Ohio State and Wisconsin, and I'm trying to find it on the board what the score was of that thing. Oh, 38-7. That one was in Columbus. Of course, this game is in Indianapolis. I think the Buckeyes, to be honest with you, were playing better football then than they are now. I know they look good against Michigan, but I think Wisconsin has looked pretty good their last few weeks too. They beat Minnesota good. They scored 45 points against Purdue. They beat Iowa by 2. I mean, they're not covering spreads, but I don't know. I for some reason, I can't put my finger on it. I like Wisconsin in this game plus the points. I just do.
Cool, because I'm going the absolute other way. Ohio State always plays well in these conference championship games for the most part. Wisconsin, it seems like a good matchup on paper, but I tell you what, before you blink, it's normally 21-3 going into halftime, and I don't see this script changing. I think Ohio State, Justin Fields is a threat. Dobbins running, passing. We talked about the offensive line against Michigan. Ohio State's secondary is lights out. I think they got a real good secondary. So Wisconsin doesn't really have a top-flight quarterback, Jack Cohn. They got Jonathan Taylor. Ohio State is definitely going to put 8 in a box and see if Taylor can get a seam to run the ball. If he can't, long day for Wisconsin. Ohio State all the way here. I have no issue taking Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm going to take Wisconsin in the points. I just think the world is going to be on Ohio State in this game.
Yeah.
The absolute world, and that's usually a death wish in these
Okay.
games. So I'm going to go for Wisconsin. Well, that wraps up our bowl picks. Got pretty decent NFL card for our show tomorrow. We got some really nice feature games. We got the 49ers and the Saints going at it. We got the Ravens and the Bills, which is quietly a good game. And then we also have the Seahawks are playing Rams. We have
Cowboys,
Patriots and
Bears.
Chiefs.
Cowboys, Bears tomorrow night.
Cowboys, Bears tomorrow night. I mean, someone's got to get back on the horse in that one.
I still got 24 hours to make my pick on that one.
So if the Cowboys make it to the playoffs, right, they won't have to bye in the first round, but they'll have the home field. They play the Vikings, right? Because the Packers win that division, they'll have the worst record of any of the division winners. So they would play likely the Vikings. Who do you like in that game?
Not the Cowboys, I can tell you that right now.
Anything south of 16.5 in that one, I'm taking the Vikings.
Listen, I think Jason Garrett is going to be out after the year. I do. I think it's time after 10 years. So we'll see what happens. But the Cowboys got to take care of business against the Bears. I mean, if they give away this division to a crappy Eagle team, it's it's not going to be good for the fans of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Eagles have been absolutely terrible also.
I know, but the Cowboys are doing everything in their power to keep them in it.
I mean, the Eagles, they lost to the Dolphins.
I know. Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Well, let's recap what we did. We both like Utah. We both like App State. I like Miami. Steve took Central Michigan. We both took Baylor plus the points. We both like Cincinnati. I like Hawaii. Steve likes Boise. Clemson for both of us. I took Wisconsin. I think that's going to be the tighter game. Generally, one of those games, like the ACC or the Big Ten, is a closer game than people think it's going to be. I think my pick is that it's going to be that Big Ten game. But we have the potential, really, on this college football championship Saturday for... Oh, we also both took LSU, by the way.
Yep.
Outside of the LSU-Georgia game, which I think is going to be really competitive, this is potentially just 9 blowouts, you know?
Yeah.
This could be an 8 to 9 blowout day here. Or it could be, big doggy, you know?
Yeah.
Either way, we'll be back tomorrow with our NFL show. Like I said, we're back to a 16-game schedule for the NFL. Thank God. It's like these bye weeks seem to go on forever. I'm a big fan of eliminating the preseason, or at least some of it. And, nobody else has it. College football doesn't have a preseason.
True.
Eliminate all 4 preseason games, add 2 more regular season, an extra bye week for everyone. What the hell,
Why not?
Are we going to be covering XFL? Probably. Can you bet on it? I'll probably have some interest.
Be some names in there that we'll be familiar with.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some players in there that we have some interest in.
Some of the names of the teams I think are little.
Is this the first secondary?
But it's like Vipers and silly names like that going around these teams.
People said that about the Raptors when they named them.
It's taken hold. The Raptors. It's a good name.
Well, you win a championship, it helps.
It certainly does.
All right, I'm going to run. I got things to do, places to be, videos to shoot.
Yep.
Have a good Wednesday night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
I'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then also at 4 p.m. with Steve. And we'll keep rolling right along. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for joining me. And be on the lookout. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and all that kind of good stuff. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.